I liked the mystery of the first couple seasons, but now I'm at the point where like I follow and I want to guess who is doing what, but it's more about the little quips and the little looks and the clear improvisation between these two just geniuses that one day are not going to be here. We're going to look back at, man, I used to watch Steve Martin and Martin Short back in the day, and like this show can go on forever if that's the case. So, Lacey, there's always like talk about the importance and how much people pay attention to Rotten Tomatoes scores and you know what influence do they have on a movie's success. Obviously Beetlejuice, we talked about it last week. Monster Projections opened this past weekend. It debuted with I think an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics. So people are like, oh, okay, well the original had that, so that's good for that. But
yeah.
For just a movie like Joker, could bad Rotten Tomatoes scores be good for the movie?
I think you want them to be.
We'll talk about it. But welcome everybody to Nerdy and Nice. We are so happy that you are here. Thanks for finding us. Again, whether you just found Nerdy and Nice, welcome. We talk about movies, TV, reality TV, anything that we love to nerd out about in pop culture and entertainment. I'm John, that's Lacey. And or if you're a TRB fan, an old school TRB fan, new to TRB, and you found us, that's also awesome because Nerdy Nice is on its own platform. So please make sure you subscribe to the podcast on specifically Apple and Spotify. And of course, the TRB YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TRB podcast. We're very happy to have you. And also, Lacey, because we are going to hear from some of them later in the show because the nerd word is back.
Exciting. I thought you were going to say baby. I was waiting for you to say baby.
I thought about it, but I think my kids are definitely asleep by now. But to warm things up here, a couple things. So Anya Taylor-Joy said she would love to play Elsa if they ever did a live action Frozen, which there is no plans for that yet. They're doing sequels and sequels right now of the animated version. But the moment she said that, I was like, well, yeah, she looks exactly like a Pixar character. And I'm not saying that in a bad way necessarily, because she's a very pretty woman. But, and I like her. A Queen's Gambit, I thought she was very good.
She has very big eyes.
She does, very like brown, pronounced. And I remember in that movie, what was the movie that was a sequel to like Unbreakable that she was in with... It was a horror movie, and there's this famous shot where she like peers over at the guy driving the car. No, James McAvoy.
Oh, I don't know. She's in a couple horror movies. Last Night in Soho.
Split.
Oh, Split.
Her eyes are just very pronounced, and from that moment, I was like, "Who is she?" But what do you think about that? Like, real quick, do you think you could see her as Elsa if they do a live action?
I would love that. Can she sing? Do we know if she can sing?
I thought that too. I don't know.
I don't know if she can sing either.
Listeners, can she sing? Let us know.
I'll have to Google that. I don't know if she can. I've never heard her sing in anything. I think she does a very good job playing like a cold, emotional character, like someone that's very inwardly criticizing themselves or very in their own head, and that's who Elsa is. So more than just her looking like Elsa, like very like Queen's Gambit is very much an Elsa character.
Very internal. Yeah.
Yes. I'm all for it. I'd love to see it. I'd watch a live action Frozen.
Right. What a lot of people did not watch was the reboot of The Crow, which bombed terribly. On a $50 million budget, it is at $18 million now, with not much left, not much makeup left in the jar. So I read the writing on the wall the moment I saw images of him, and I knew that this was not going to go well. And
the original director said he didn't like it.
Of the original Crow?
Yeah.
I could see that. I mean,
he said it was a cash grab.
Yeah, and those people are always going to be forever tied to that because of what happened to Brandon Lee. But And I love The Crow, so I probably shouldn't be one to comment on this movie because I haven't seen it, but I'm just talking about performance, not good. So we're probably not getting a follow-up to this one. But you know what I did watch, Lacey? I don't know if you had a chance to watch any new movies lately. I watched Trap, and I watched Fly Me to the Moon. And I will say, I think you would like Fly Me to the Moon.
I might have to check it out. It's on digital?
It's on digital. Yeah.
Nice. I know Trap is. Don't tell me anything because that's on my list. That's the big thing that Matt and I have been waiting to watch. We haven't had the chance yet.
Can I give my non-spoiler thoughts? A couple sentences.
Depends what you think is a spoiler or not.
I'm not spoiling anything. Ready? For me, Trap is a 2-hour movie. M. Night Shyamalan. The first hour, I was totally engaged, pulled in. I'm like, yes. And then the next hour, it really fell apart for me.
You're spoiling it for me.
No, I'm not going to get into specifics why. And nothing I said can steer you in any possible direction other than how I thought about it.
You basically just said it's bad.
You may love it. How many things do I love? The Rise of Skywalker. You not so much.
I
love Game of Thrones. I don't think you've watched it. So
I have not.
We have different tastes.
Okay.
But I will say this: Josh Hartnett was outstanding.
So I got spoiled a little bit online, and that's how I found out it was on digital, is because people were posting like high-res clips of it on Twitter. And I was like, how are people posting these? And then I was like, oh my God, is it out on digital? And I immediately like jumped to Google to check. But I had read a sentence about something about the movie that I was like, oh man.
Why do you do this to me?
Do what to you?
You go, don't you spoil.
I don't want you to spoil it for me.
But then you're like, so I got spoiled online.
The only thing I got spoiled about was that he takes his shirt off in the movie. Because someone had said that him taking his shirt off was one of the best moments of the movie, and it was his own idea. It was Josh's idea.
I think he gave a great acting performance.
But they're saying it added to the scene, and that it was his idea to do it. Is that it added? Not that they're like, oh my God, he's so attractive. They were saying it added to the scene to make it so intense.
I got you. Yeah, he was good. I think I still enjoyed watching it. It was a fun watch, so I think you guys will have fun with it. And Fly Me to the Moon, nice movie. I really enjoyed it. I went in not expecting to like it, even though I like ScarJo and I'm a big Channing Tatum fan and Woody Harrelson. But it's a fictional spin on the original moon landing, and it's well done. It has a little romance tinges in there. So check that out. I think you would like that.
Nice.
But
can I say what I watched this week really
quickly? Oh yeah, let's do it.
So I rediscovered this show that I had watched a while ago called Unreal. I believe it was on Lifetime when it was originally airing, and it has Shirley Appleby from Roswell. She's also in Girls. She's in a couple different things. I love her from Roswell days because Roswell was like a perfect show, like one of the best shows ever made. Anyway, so she's on the show and she plays a producer of a bachelorette type show called Everlasting. And the premise is a scripted show that is the behind the scenes of a Bachelor show. So it's like she's playing the person that's like, you know, making the girls say certain things, or they're trying to get the moments. It is so good. I forgot how good it was, and I had only watched one season.
Are they exposing that it's scripted in a way?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh,
it's so good, John. You got to watch it. It's
what's it called?
Unreal. It's on Netflix. There's 4 seasons.
I've never heard of that.
So it was on Lifetime. So I think it got kind of buried because not a lot of people watch Lifetime, but it's so funny. So it's like people in the kind of editing room being like, we need a black girl. We need a MILF on screen. We need her going for it. Like funny. Bring up the divorce, you know, bring up the child at home that she left to be on the show. Like those kind of calls that producers are actually making in real shows, but it's scripted and it's like the whole environment of like working in TV. It's so good to the point that it was one of those shows that like I started watching it And like episode 3, I like look over and Matt's standing in the room watching it with me, and then he's sitting with me watching it, and then we blew through 3 episodes, just one of those
Boom.
shows. I highly recommend it to anybody that likes kind of like that behind the scenes TV feel with like really good acting. Warning, it's over the top ridiculous. Swearing, crude language, sexual content. If you're not into that, it's not going to be for you, but it's hilarious.
Who's not into that?
Some people don't like that, so I'm just
kidding.
Give it a try. It's on Netflix.
Did you start Only Murders yet?
I've not. It's on my list. I got distracted by Unreal.
I'm through 2, and I'm still thumbsing up so far. And we'll talk about that show in a bit.
We will.
Do you want to get into what's happening?
Let's do it.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
So, guys, as you know, we just brought it up because, I mean, it's my go-to. Big Netflix people here. Watch a lot of Netflix. It's just, let's face it, it's one of the best streaming services. It's easy to use. There's a lot of stuff to browse on there. And they've kind of proven that they're the streaming service that is the king of services, and they have more users than any other service. They got a big week coming up, September 16th to the 19th. It's called the Geeked Week. It's hard to say, Geeked Week. They've done it for a couple weeks now. I think weeks for years. Messed that up. They started it kind of during COVID, where they had no Comic-Cons going on and all these companies were their own thing digital. And Netflix took that on and said, you know what, we can do our own thing online. They did the Toodum thing last year, which is the noise at the beginning. It's where they kind of give fans updates on everything they're doing in the coming year, which is nice. They kind of give you the heads up. They also have been pushing merch. And as we talked about a couple weeks ago, they are doing kind of these big store experiences where they're opening up kind of like you had done the traveling Stranger Things one. They also have traveling Bridgerton. They're trying to bring all those experiences into one place, which is going to be by us soon in Pennsylvania. So we should probably try to take a trip down there to go see it. I think that would be something cool to do. But they have Geek Week coming up with a lot of updates on shows like Stranger Things 5, Squid Game 2, Black Mirror, Avatar Season 2, etc. I can't wait to hear more about Stranger Things and Squid Game, of course. So, John, what are you looking forward to most hearing about?
Oh, Stranger Things. I'm fully like season 4 reinvigorated my love for that show because season 3 sunk it a bit. So, and I know this is like the final act. So I'm very excited to hear about that. Squid Game, absolutely. I soaked all of that up. I watched the reality show. I did all that, and big fan of Lee Jung-jae, and I'm definitely going to check that out. Black Mirror, get the hell away from me. Life is already Black Mirror. I don't need to watch Black Mirror. And I haven't watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. I know Paul Sung-Young Lee is in it. Right? Isn't he in it?
Of what?
Paul Sung-Young Lee is in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
He isn't, yes, and people say he's amazing in that show.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet because I don't know that, and I was so intimidated to start it because I figured, oh, I have to watch the cartoons that came out. I don't know if that's true or not, but I may check that out. But overall, it's just seeing Netflix being so reachable by their fans and being open with their fans, and also like think about this. And I'm not going to pick on Disney, but with Star Wars, like they're the studio that we talk about most. Like when they're like D23 and it's going to be the Lucasfilm showcase, and you're like, well, what? I'm like, oh, you'll find out. Special guests, and I know the special guest thing we've talked about why they do that.
Yes,
but you can do this and say, hey, Netflix is like, we're going to tell you about this and this and this, and they tell you what's coming. Not everything has to be this big surprise. Tell people that you're showing these trailers or you're going to be giving behind the scenes looks or interviews with the cast. Get people to start getting the coals burning to get the excitement going. And Netflix is nailing that. And I was dogging Netflix for a while, like a year or two ago, like after The Office left, and not just because of that, but it felt like they were getting cheap with some of their content. But now it's like, I don't know what happened. They're acquiring WWE Raw. Like Netflix is going to be bigger than ever, I think. So they're doing everything the right way. I don't know what the future holds, or if they're going to get too big where it gets a little risky sometimes. But this is great. And if I like, I just wish like Star Wars and other things that I love did stuff like this, and I can go to a Star Wars pop-up experience, and like I did for the Stranger Things thing, was amazing. I loved it, and I'll never forget it. Like the Netflix has got it. They know how to make people happy, and if you call that fan service, then service the hell out of this fan, because I think that's amazing.
They are doing a really good job of bringing their fans beyond the screen. So the big thing about Geek Week, which like I said, they've been doing it for 4 years now. This year they're doing a live event in person in Atlanta that you can get tickets for. They're also doing merchandise, and they're doing a fan awards. So they're tapping into fans for best fan art, best fan craft, best fan transformation, which I'm assuming is cosplay, and they're trying to put them in the Geeked Hall of Fandom. So they're highlighting their fans in ways that's going to keep people coming back, because they're going to be like, I want a shout out online.
Exactly.
I want to be highlighted about my favorite, show or whatever. It's really cool to see. And I think, per usual, what we're all craving on a regular basis is community and connection. And they're saying, hey, all these people also like this thing you like. Come join us. We're going to celebrate it and give you some sneak peeks and opportunities to not only be with those people, but maybe get some merchandise, talk to actors. It's just really cool. I know for the podcast, we did pick up some prizes that we're going to be giving out soon. And a couple of them are specifically Netflix themed, which we were really pumped about. So maybe we'll have to give away some during this week. It just makes kind of sense. But I'm the most excited for Squid Game, I would say. Stranger Things, yes, sure, because I think there's a lot around it. And especially, I'm a huge fan of Sean Levy now. Like anything he does, I like really trust that it's going to be good. Just because he has such a reputation now, and like kind of a list of things that have just killed. But Squid Game is my big thing. I'm so hyped for that, and I can't wait for it to come out.
It'll be a Merry Christmas watching people get sniped.
Can't wait.
Merry Christmas. Blam.
It's funny you say that, because over the past few years, there have been a lot of violent Christmas movies to come out where like Santa kills people.
The
or
David
like
Harbour one?
Yeah, which we still, Matt and I have not watched that yet. It's still on our list to watch just because we haven't gotten around to it. Matt like bought it. He has it like on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever. But it's funny that you say that, because I feel like Netflix is leaning into that a little bit, being like, you know what? People do like violence around Christmas. So maybe we'll lean into that a little bit.
Just like violence all year round.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But speaking of violence, people are being violently critical of your upcoming film. Well, not yours, but like you want something you're looking forward to, which is Joker Folie à Deux. Got a 59% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's coming out of the Venice Film Festival, I believe, this past week, and people did not like it.
Critics did not like it.
Critics did not like it. I meant people, as in the people that have seen it so far have not liked it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because I'm someone that isn't looking forward to this movie. I'll be honest. It hasn't really interested me. I love Lady Gaga. I think she's going to be awesome in it. During press conferences, they were talking about how much weight she lost for this role and how much dedication she had to it. And yet she also called it not a musical, but I thought it was a musical. She said it's not. What do you think? What are your overall thoughts of what happened? Are you still going to see it?
Yes. So I think I really liked Joker. and I'm a big Joaquin Phoenix fan ever since I think the first movie I saw him in was Gladiator, and now that's almost 25 years ago. And he was in plenty of stuff before then, To Die For, and we can do the list can go on. Obviously, we know his brother was this immense talent who passed away at such a young age, and he's been sort of living for the two of them. He says, which is sweet. And he's a quirky dude and stuff, but he talk about losing weight. Him losing weight for these movies is just like crazy how much weight he lost. And that's not the focus. The focus is like how much he put into the role. And I really thought the first one was so unique and so good for a movie about Joker. When I remember first hearing Todd Phillips is making a Joker movie, I was like, they're doing a Joker movie again? Like the Nolan movies just ended 7 years ago. Like,
how do you top Heath Ledger?
Yeah, and then Jack Nicholson, all these, Mark Hamill, so many Jokers. And like, they're doing Joker again, and it was a unique spin on it. It was a different name, a different. It wasn't really Batman involved, and I enjoyed it. And it got slammed before that came out too, and it turned it into a success because what happened was it was like the Tipper Gore effect. In the 1980s, Tipper Gore was trying to get music banned, like heavy metal music and rap music. And kids started buying all the records she said don't buy. And that's like, if you're a rock star or you're making a movie, you want the square people, like the uncool people, to tell kids not to watch something because they're going to do the exact opposite. They're going to run to that theater. And critics giving this a 59, to me, is going to tell those people, all right, the people who aren't supposed to like it don't like it. Good. That means it's going to be good. And it's the same crew. It's Todd Phillips. It's Joaquin Phoenix. The dude never does sequels. I think it's his first sequel. And you add Lady Gaga and music. I don't see how this is not going to be good for people who liked the first one. I think it might even be better. I think it's going to get Lady Gaga an Oscar win for supporting actress. And I think you'll see the 59% audience score right next to a fat 85% or higher audience score for this. And I think it's going to make a lot of money, and it's going to end this story because Joaquin Phoenix has hinted that he hasn't ever done him to do another one. And it's going to close this nice part 1, part 2 chapter the way Godfather should have been without a third. And I think it's going to do well. So I'm looking forward to it. And for the movie like this, any other movie, like if Beetlejuice got a 59 from critics, I would be very nervous. But Joker, I think it's not necessarily a bad thing.
So do you think that the critics just didn't get it?
No. I think
why do you think they rated it so low that it would be good for fans?
There could be a lot of factors. I know Joaquin Phoenix got into some heat for a movie he was trying to get made and backing out of it because he didn't want to do like the gay sex scenes or whatever. So he was getting a lot of heat from people for that and think he should get in serious trouble for that. And I also just think critics didn't love the first one either. I think it has a 69 on Rotten Tomatoes now, but that's since it came out. And since it came out, it made $1 billion and won an Oscar. So that might change people's tunes on their critic reviews. But it wasn't like, I remember it getting negative buzz on the first one. So I think this is on par with that. So I don't know why critics voted that way. I'm just bringing up the things that I saw in the news about Joaquin Phoenix. And then this idea of this psychotic, violent man. I mean, some people, don't want to see that in their media. You're not interested in, so if you were at Venice and you saw it, maybe you'd say, no, didn't like it. And that would sink the score. It doesn't mean you think it was made poorly, but you just didn't like what it was. So I still think it's going to be really received well by the audience. I think it's going to win Lady Gaga an Oscar, and I think it's going to make a ton of money.
I think it's going to make a ton of money just from the fact that Lady Gaga's in it, because her fans are crazy for her. They're not crazy, but they're crazy for her and supportive of her, and will do and listen to and watch anything she's in. So I think it's going to make buckets just because of that reason, in addition to the fact that I think there are a lot of people that enjoyed the first one that are willing to see the second one as well. Yeah. On the other side of that equation, media darling Rian Johnson, his film will reportedly Knives Out 3 has reportedly have a budget over $200 million. And that's in comparison with Glass Onion, which was the second one, which were around 40 million each, which is the first one and the second one.
Knives Out and Glass Onion, yeah.
Yeah. So this came from Jeff Schneider, who we know is on a podcast with John Roca, but also has his own kind of website newsletter. He gets a lot of things right. Like he was the one that was reporting the Daisy Ridley movie. He's been reporting a ton of stuff over the years that we've talked about and discussed. So he does have a little bit of cred. It is not confirmed though. It's just coming from Jeff. That being said, I'm going to admit, anytime I see a story that's like, okay, we're getting into this movie and it now has a $200 million budget, I get nervous. I think studios are going so heavy into the budgets that you lose the ability of kind of being, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they're not going to be innovative because they have the money to do whatever they want. Whereas a lot of the best moments in film or the best moments in a movie, whether it be practical effects or the way something was done, was out of need because they didn't have the money to do it. So anytime I see a balloon budget, I see, okay, how innovative are they going to really be with this film? And second of all, they're setting themselves up for failure because if it doesn't deliver, which by the way, this is going straight to Netflix, if this doesn't deliver on box office, which it won't, what does that say for future films, for future projects for Rian Johnson? What's going to be the reaction to it? Because $200 million is a lot, which by the way, based on our conversation last week, it's 2 Robert Downey Jr.'s.
Right.
$100 million.
So he's definitely not in this. Okay.
He is not in this. No.
Right.
What are your thoughts? Do you think that we've had this discussion before, but do you think that budgets are getting too crazy? Do you think this movie should be $200 million?
It makes me curious about what this movie is going to be, because if you look at the first Knives Out and then Glass Onion, it's very centralized set. You know, they're in the first one, they're for the most part they're in that house. In the second one, they're in Edward Norton's mansion, and so if both movies feel intimate, and I get the 40 million budget there. So if this report is true, which it's not confirmed, so but like you were saying, Jeff Snyder has been very accurate with things. So when we see reports of his, we never hesitate to talk about them. When I see 200 million for a Knives Out movie, I'm wondering, Lacey, like, is he going big with this? Is this going to have more environments on locations, moving around? Is it going to be a movie where they travel a lot? Like, what is this graveyard? Like, what? So I want to get a bit like a bigger idea of what the story is to understand. Like, maybe he just made this a bigger movie. And I think, you know, the first two were watched by a lot of people, and that's part of that Netflix branding. So I was shocked to see that report. If it's true, though, all I can say is it intrigues me to wonder where Rian Johnson's taking Knives Out, because if the first two were consistent with budget and in a similar feel, this has to be different. And I want to know what that different is.
Right. And the thing that made it so unique with the first one is that it was everybody in the same room, murder mystery in this old house. It was very intimate, like the sets were small. It just seemed more like an underdog type indie film rather than a bigger budget film. Also, to put it in perspective, I know obviously it's 2024, but in 1997, James Cameron made Titanic with $200 million. He built a whole boat in Mexico, sank it, filled it with different stuff. It's $200 million to make Titanic.
What?
And so that is the budget that they're using for Knives Out. Now, again, I understand inflation. Things are expensive. It's 30 years later. But, I mean, that's nuts if you look at them next to each other.
Yeah.
you're building the Titanic on location and you're sinking it with big cranes and doing all these things, and you built a boat. And then you, like you said, what is Rian Johnson doing? Is a graveyard $200 million? Is he building a crazy house that like breaks apart? Is like, what is he doing? Is it visual effects? Or is it the cast? Is the cast costing so much money?
I don't know about the cast, because I feel like I don't know that this cast is necessarily any like have more star power than the first two. Oh,
Right.
well, than the first, but
yeah. Again, I'm comparing it to like what we were talking about last week with Robert Downey Jr. There's nobody like that on the cast that like is demanding.
yeah.
Yeah, isn't that crazy though?
I mean,
$200 million.
it's nuts. Yeah, Daniel Craig, Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott. I mean, it's a really good cast, but I mean, this isn't, 1997 Jim Carrey money,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. I'm trying to see, and it's all, Rian Johnson's got his classic crew. He's got Ram Bergman with him and all that. But have you read a premise, or have they not released anything like that yet, right?
They haven't. They've just released the title, which is Wake Up Dead Man.
And the only characters I see there's priests in it. So maybe it has some sort of...
Or maybe it's on location in a very expensive spot. That's another question. But look, apparently everybody likes violence and murder, because our next story also has to do with murder, and it's Only Murders in the Building.
Another murder.
Yeah, has been renewed already for season 5 after its season 4 debut episode. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I can't wait. I heard you told me you went into it being like, I don't know, and then you were like, okay, I get it, sure. So I can't wait to watch it. But I thought season 4 was the end, but it looks like it is not. And Steve Martin is making some more, which I have to admit, some people are pretty happy about this, because in 4 years they've made 4 seasons, and now they're making a 5th season, and people are like, wow, this is actually like what I used to watch on television, where I'd get a season every year. Also, who doesn't want to see this series continue until Martin Short gets some type of award for the character he's playing on this show, because he deserves something. Yeah. What do you think? Are you excited for a season 5?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because now I'm like looking at the title and I'm like, I wonder if the title means only murders can happen to people in that building.
How many people are dying?
Yeah, it's like how cheap is the rent where those people are still like, I'm gonna take the dog for a walk. Like 4 people got murdered, and the cops are doing nothing. But I really like this show, first and foremost because of the comedy between the 3 of them, and I think Selena Gomez, acting against 2 comedic legends and holding her own, like, bravo, unbelievable. And she's so good in this show. And of course, Steve Martin and Martin Short have been riffing off each other for decades, and they still are doing it at ages 79 and 75.
So good. They're so good.
I liked the mystery of the first couple seasons, but now I'm at the point where like I follow and I want to guess who is doing what, but it's more about the little quips and the little looks and the clear improvisation between these 2 just geniuses that one day are not going to be here. We're going to look back at, man, I used to watch Steve Martin and Martin Short back in the day. And like, this show can go on forever if that's the case. The reason why I went into this season thinking they might have jumped the shark is because of the whole making a movie thing.
Cameos. Yeah,
like we're going to make a movie of the movie thing. And I always hated that. It's just really tough for me to swallow. And there have been movies and shows I've liked that have done that. Seinfeld, obviously. But with this show, I was nervous that it was just going to be too LA and stuff. And so far out of the first 2 episodes, it hasn't felt like they've done that yet. So we'll see. Like I said, each week I will update you guys on where I'm at with it. But so far, I'm still on board. And hearing that it's renewed, I want to see these people again. So yeah.
Nice. I can't wait to watch it. Maybe I need to make it a thing that I watch it so that we can talk about it every episode, like a little review.
There you go. Yeah, and they're like 35 minutes, so you can knock them out.
We can totally do it. All right, let's get into some trailers.
Oh, let's do it.
Oh God, I love that movie.
All right, Lacey. The first one up just came out before we were recording, essentially, and that is the, I believe, 6-part docuseries coming out September 25th called Mr. McMahon, about essentially the rise and fall of WWE's former owner and essentially creator, even though he bought a version from his dad, Vince McMahon. And this trailer was interesting because I believe they started this documentary before all this stuff came out this year about what Vince had done. And it became one of those things that like turned into something they didn't expect. And I think that is always so interesting. And there's 2 documentaries that I love because of how they were originally made and what they turned out to be. And the one is a wrestling documentary called Hitman Hart, Wrestling with Shadows. It was supposed to follow a year in the life of Bret Hart. And he winds up getting screwed by Vince McMahon when he was leaving the company because Vince backed out of his wrestling deal with him. And it turned into being all about this scandal. And it wasn't intended to be. And then the other one is those 2 French filmmakers who were making a documentary about downtown New York City firehouses. And they were just with them out in a job and they witnessed 9/11 and they documented the whole thing. It was just a documentary about firefighters. And it's the only footage of the plane going into the first tower. If you haven't seen it, it's just called 9/11. It's by the 2 French brothers. It is
I have seen that.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah,
It
it's
really
insane.
is. And like now you have this, and I watched this trailer, and I've been a wrestling fan forever, since the 80s, like Hulk Hogan, all those guys, Macho Man. And I started dipping my toe back into it recently now that Vince left, because I think he had to go for a while. I hope they do dig deep on this one, Lacey, because it's a 6-part series, and you know they have to involve this scandal in it. And for WWE to work with them is a big thing. So props to them. I am definitely going to watch this. It probably won't even be enough. And as deep as they go, they probably won't go deep enough as I want them to. This is going to be just must watch because of just seeing the downfall of this guy who was the cockiest, most arrogant guy in that business.
Yeah, he's wild. It's funny you bring up those other documentaries, that this one is one that is happening while other things are happening, and then the story changes. It just reminded me, and I totally forgot about this, Making a Murderer. Do you remember how big that was in 2015?
Yeah.
And it's like everybody was talking about it, and it was one of those things that like everybody watched it, and it reopened the case, and they had to make a season 2 about the reaction to it. It kind of reminded me of this because as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, you're so right. I am super interested in watching this. And so I think we're going to have to do a review of this one because this is something that is just.
Have you met Vince?
I have. I worked with Vince.
How many times did you interact with him one-on-one?
Every week.
What was your experience interacting with Vince McMahon?
He is very loud, very opinionated.
Is he abrasive? Like
wants
intimidating?
things his way. He wasn't necessarily intimidating to me. I think there was like this kind of air around him that was built up from people that were in the situation. So before I even joined the team, it was very much like, don't talk to Vince, don't look at Vince, don't do anything with Vince, like leave Vince alone. So like when you go into a situation with like that energy being thrown at you, it kind of sets the bar high of like what you think the interactions are going to be. And the interactions I always had were nice ones. Like he made jokes and was just like playing jokes on me and saying hi and doing whatever. Like nothing ever came of in a bad situation with me and Vince. Like he was never rude to me. He was never inappropriate. Nothing was ever, it was just, he was doing his job. But it was definitely his way or the highway. Like he was like, I want this shot here.
Oh yeah.
This person to do this. I want this person to go through the table. Or it would be like, you know, through the day, it would be like, they'll have one scene and then all of a sudden they'd be like, Vince hates it. It's out. We're doing something different. And then they'd call the writers in and then they do a different scene. And then they come back and they'd be like, this scene's completely changed. So then I'd have to rush to print all the scenes out and deliver them to the different locations in the stadium so that everybody knew what was going on. That's the experience I had, but I'm interested to see from things that I had heard over the years after working there from people, but then also during the time that I was there, what I would hear from people. If I see it transpire on film here. It's weird because even though I'm not in this show because I was only there for like a year, it's still weird to think that like situations I see in this show could be something that I saw in person.
Yeah. It looks like they're going deep, and so we have to talk about it after we watch it because
Yeah.
Vince McMahon is, it's weird seeing these people that I'd never idolized Vince McMahon, but I always was so happy that he beat WCW because I was always a WWF kid. But it's like Hulk Hogan, turns out he's like a piece of garbage, and it's just like it sucks when you grow up saying your prayers and eating your vitamins and all the stuff they tell you, and then like, oh, it turns out that guy's like an awful dude,
But if you look at it in the perspective of, which is funny because he always yelled that over the radio, was perspective. He'd be like, perspective. Like he'd always be yelling that. If you look at it from that view, he brought a lot of great people to light, like John Cena, Dwayne Johnson, like all these other people that wouldn't have ever been in front of a camera. He got them into the spotlight to do what they do now. And you hear things about John Cena where he's granting the most wishes for kids that are sick.
Yep.
Like that wouldn't be happening if
Yep.
Vince didn't get him there. So there's positives that come out of this, and I'm interested to see.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a ton of drama and negativity and craziness that's going to the story, which is what makes it entertaining at times. But I'm interested to see how they spin it so that it's not just negative. Like, because I don't think it can be, because there's not just negative things about this story.
No, yeah. And it's interesting that the documentary is called Mr. McMahon because that was the character he played.
Right.
Which was this awful person, but Vince is writing that stuff. So it is very interesting, and I don't think anyone's questioning like Vince McMahon's ability in that business. He made pro wrestling. Like it would be you would be in Alabama or like Tennessee somewhere Mississippi watching wrestling if it wasn't for what Vince McMahon did for wrestling. So like you have to acknowledge the fact of that and then realize this guy did some bad stuff.
I would say though that he did create probably a very toxic and/or nerve-wracking environment. From what I experienced from people, it was very on edge of like, oh, what will make him happy? What's going to make him upset? That's what I experienced. So it's interesting.
The steroids and the drugs and everything going on. That the whole culture of the wrestling, like you watch these guys in these interviews and you're like, man. And they all, like a lot of them from those days didn't live past like 50. It's just dark stuff. You ever watch the movie The Wrestler? Like that's a dark movie.
I have not.
Yeah, you wouldn't like it. And back to Joker. I know it's not your thing, so quick thing on this. It's a 30-second new teaser that came out, and it made me want to see the movie more because it looks beautifully shot. Whatever color palette Todd Phillips is using for this, it's very colorful but subtle tones, not bright. He's a good director. I want to see what else he's doing because I grew up watching his comedies like Road Trip and Old School and that stuff. I love those. And now he's delivering this type of stuff. He might have a real big future ahead of him beyond Joker. But then
sounds like you like his color grading. Whoever's color grading his films.
I grade all of his colors in A+. Yes.
That's what it's called, color grading.
I just leave it up to the people to whether they know whether I'm joking or not.
I'm just saying you should look up to see who's color grading his films or who's editing his films, who's doing any of that stuff.
Yeah,
that will tell you what kind of filter it is.
You want to do it now or you want me to do it later?
No, later.
All right, this next one is, I think, your biggest get.
Biggest get?
I mean,
don't
you
know
got
about
the
that.
guy on your fantasy team. You drafted him a little too early. You know, you love the whole thing. You became a Chiefs fan all of a sudden. So Travis Kelce is going to be appearing in this series called Grotesquerie on FX by Ryan Murphy. Comes out. I don't think it all comes out. I think it's the first episode, wherever it's coming out, September 25th, same day Netflix is putting out McMahon. But it's like this horror series. What is your take on the trailer? Did you know anything about it before watching the trailer, and your overall thoughts on the show, and of course your Travis Kelce?
So we did talk about this. I believe it was the second episode of Nerdy and Nice when they announced that he was going to be in this. Travis Kelce
Oh, this
was
is what it was?
cast.
Okay.
Yeah, and we had made the joke like, imagine if he wins an Oscar. That was what this was. So now this is finally coming out. He shot it months ago, and he had put up a social picture with Niecy Nash, who's the star of the show. She plays a detective. Who's researching a bunch of killings, speaking to nuns and priests about these killings, and like someone's going around eating people or something. I don't know. There's a lot going on in this trailer. It's from Ryan Murphy, who we know from American Horror Story, Scream Queens, Glee. He always has that kind of quirky, dark thing going on where there's moments of humor here and there, but like then there's like this really dark undertone of like, wow, this is really messed up.
Is it related
Yeah,
to those shows at all, or no?
I don't think it is. I
Oh,
think it's just his brand of horror. Like he just
gotcha.
likes horror.
He's the FX horror guy.
He is. He
Yeah.
really is. But yeah, it looks very good. I do find it very surprising, but not at the same time, that they introed this trailer with Travis Kelce. So they have Travis Kelce introing this trailer saying like, "Hey, can't wait to show you guys what's going on." Yeah. And of course they do it the week that like football's happening, so they probably played this on Fox. I don't know, I don't have cable. Um
And he played Thursday. So the
and he
first
played this
game.
past Thursday
Yeah.
against the Ravens, yeah. So it makes sense. And look, they're not stupid. Ryan Murphy's not stupid. He's one of the biggest names right now in entertainment, in sports and just in general because he's dating Taylor Swift. So when you need someone that just gets attention, and by the way, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, was the girl that did the Haktua thing is now getting a podcast and she's getting offers for movies, and she's expanding that 15 minutes on TikTok to a career. This is no different. And I'm not saying that she's on the level of a Travis Kelce because obviously he has a tremendous athletic ability. He's the best tight end in the league. What I'm saying is that he's expanding his 15 minutes of dating Taylor Swift and being in the public eye to open more doors and opportunities. He's hosting game shows. His podcast is supposedly about to sell for $100 million to someone.
Really?
Yes, for like Spotify or Amazon, or someone's about to spend $100 million on him. He's
Damn.
setting his life up that once he retires from football, he's good. Whether Taylor Swift is there or not, which again, I hope she is. I hope they're truly in love and they're having a wonderful life together. But if they don't, that's okay too. He's setting his life up with these things. That being said, and I mean this trying not to be mean, he is a terrible actor. He is not good in this trailer at all. So he intros it as his normal self. He's like, "Yo, it's me, Travis. What up? Here's my trailer." And then they play the trailer and it builds the whole thing. You're like, "Oh my God, this is so dark. This is so creepy. There's blood and gore." And, Niecy Nash is going through being like, "No one understands me. I'm researching these things. And oh my God, we got to figure out who's doing this." And then it cuts to him and he says some creepy line and he says it fine, but he's so dead in the eyes that it just feels so forced that to me, I'm like, this is the best you got, Ryan Murphy. Like, I get it. I love Travis Kelce too, but you couldn't get anyone else to play this character.
What if
Now,
FX like said, "Hey Ryan, like we're looking to push up some numbers here. Like you want to play ball?" Like what if they pitched it like from the
and I
angle
could
of the
see that.
popularity thing? Yeah.
I could totally see that because we've talked to people in the industry before that have said, hey, you pick your battles. And if someone says, hey, you're going to put this in there, you do it because you want that extra 5 mil or something.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. But from the literal 10 seconds that he's on screen, I was like, no. Because he's also in Happy Gilmore too. Which he just had Adam Sandler on his podcast. Adam Sandler's, him and his family are huge Taylor Swift fans. He's working that angle. So he's in Happy Gilmore too. He's probably going to play himself
though, I would imagine.
He's probably going to play himself playing golf because he just played golf over the summer. He's probably playing golf. But yeah, I'm very surprised that they put him in this role, especially given kind of like this view that America has of him right now with Taylor Swift, or like America's sweethearts, football player, cheerleader, like yay, America. Apple pie, like that's what you think of him and Taylor Swift, and then they put him in this really disgusting horror series, which is off brand for him. Like he's hosting Are You Smarter Than a Celebrity? Like he's going on stage carrying Taylor Swift in London. Like I'm very surprised. And some people are saying that he might be the killer in this series that's doing these terrible things to people, like cutting them up and like eating them. And it's a bold choice, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. Right now, it's not paying off for me. I will be skipping this.
Yeah, I got nothing to say. Ryan Murphy, you are probably great at what you do because you make television series for
he's done
for
tons
big
of
studios. But I'm not gonna be watching this one. All right,
I'll catch highlights.
Yeah.
Let's get into the next thing.
Yeah, let's go into the next thing. What's it called?
The nerd word.
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
If you're new to the podcast, this is only the second time we've done this, but we always want to, on all of our podcasts, make sure we feature our audience, especially with stuff like this. Like, the reason why this podcast exists is because we love sharing our opinions of these things we love so much. And we know you do too. And sometimes you're probably listening and screaming at it like, oh, I wish I could, I want to share what I think about this. And this is it, the nerd word. So we put a topic out there and we get your opinion on it or your pick for something. And then we get to tell everyone what you think about all these cool topics. So this week, Lacey, what do we got?
So this week, the situation is pick a movie or TV character that has been played by multiple people and who was the best to do it. Oh my gosh, this is a fight and a half. This is bold. Like I just said, this is bold, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. These be fighting words for some people. All right. Andrew Staley, Deuce _ Staley. What up, Andrew? How's it going? He said Spock, Leonard Nimoy. Hashtag the nerd word.
Yeah, I mean, that's a safe pick, but
that is a safe pick.
But it has to be said. It has to be said, especially Andrew's, I believe, a big Star Trek fan. And I know they, J.J. Abrams did the other Spock movies and, or Spock movies, the other Star Trek movies, and they have the other Spock. But Leonard Nimoy is Spock. Yeah, no doubt.
I think as we go through them, we should agree or disagree.
Oh, okay.
For fun. Do you agree? Spock, Leonard Nimoy?
Yeah.
I agree too. Good choice, Andrew. Next is More 5150 at More 5150. What up? Said Superman, Christopher Reeve.
Agreed.
I'm going to say agree because that's the one I know.
He was just, and I can't wait to see the Christopher Reeve documentary we talked about.
You're going to sob while you watch that.
100%. I cried during the trailer. But he was so good at being Clark and Superman and changing his body language and his little nuances and his little nervous tics as Clark, and then as Superman standing up strong and like being that noble symbol of goodness. He was so freaking good. I wish we could have seen him with how good he was as Clark and Superman with James Gunn's technology today, because his movies do have a dated look to them. I still love them. Last night, no joke, it was 1 a.m. And Daisy woke up And she's like, I go into the room. She goes, get out of here. I don't want you. I want mommy. That's what she said. Yeah. And I pretend I was sad. I'm like, well, do you want to just come watch TV with me? I'm watching Superman. She goes, okay. So we go in and I'm watching Superman 2, Christopher Reeve. And she's locked in. Like there's the scene with the Niagara Falls where he saves the boy. And she's like, he fell into the water. He saved the boy. I want more Superman. Where's Superman? I'm like, well, that guy is Superman, but he's hiding with glasses and stuff. She's like, he's Superman. You know? So, and she just sitting there watching it, 3 years old. So Christopher Reeve, no doubt. Sorry to be long on the story there, but I thought
No, I like that story.
Yeah.
That's a good story. It's a nice moment. You'll remember that for a long time. Yeah. I'm gonna say him just because that's who I know of being Superman. And also, like you said, like there's clips that people always post online of him talking to Lois Lane where he like is about to reveal he's Superman and then like he stands up. People always share that clip. All right, next is Brian Cartel at _the Cartel. What up,
Hey,
Brian? He said the Joker is the character and Heath Ledger is the choice. He said, I honestly do not know if his performance of that character can ever be topped. Agree or disagree?
This is a tough one.
I agree. I'm going to say agree.
All right. So my first Batman movie was Batman in 1989, and Jack Nicholson was my Joker, and he was incredible. And then Heath Ledger rolls out, and he does his movie. He dies. He wins an Oscar. So it's like the guy won an Oscar playing Joker. But then freaking Joaquin Phoenix plays Joker, and he wins an Oscar. But I will. Yeah, maybe. People need to start playing the Joker more if they need an Oscar. But I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna say Heath Ledger, but Jack Nicholson right on his tail, man. Right on his tail.
Next is Andrew Haley at Andrew Haley 05. What up, Andrew? He said Sherlock Holmes, Benedict Cumberbatch.
100% agree.
100% agree too. The Woman, which is I believe episode 3 of Sherlock Holmes, is one of the best episodes of television I have ever watched.
Yes, very good. I remember that
ever watched.
And Robert Downey Jr. was good, but
no.
Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch was the best.
Oh my God, so good. I want to go watch that episode right now. It's that good.
I want to rewatch that whole series.
We should rewatch it, but we should also, because we talked about doing a top 10 movies like of all time.
Yep.
I feel like my top 10 of episodes of television would be more engaging for people than because I feel like my TV ranges like Squid Game to Sherlock to, you know, Emily in Paris. Like I feel like my television has more of a range than my movies. My movies are people are gonna be like, okay, another rom-com, great.
Yeah, but you
Does
like
that makes sense.
I mean, you like Deadpool. You like a lot of stuff.
That's true. I'm just saying top 10.
You like Star Wars.
I know, but I'm saying like top 10.
I'm saying I think people would like your movie list too, but I hear what you're saying. You'd have that palette for the TVs.
Yeah. Which I don't feel like I used to say. I used to say I'm a bigger movie fan. I think I am a bigger TV fan sometimes. Majority of the time. It's just so much easier to watch TV and there's so much you get out of it. Like there's way more episodes of stuff than there is of a movie. Like a movie, you sit with it and then you're done.
You're still movies with Star Wars though.
Of course. Yes, of course. I still love Star Wars. Yes, of course.
No, over their TV. I mean, you pick their movie, Star Wars movies over TV.
Yes.
That's what I meant.
Oh, I thought you meant like in general. So agree with you, Andrew. Next is Valerie at Valerie Go1. What up, Valerie? She said Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder.
I mean, come on.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. Johnny Depp to Gene Wilder. Get out.
That was a safe pick, but again, needed to be said.
One of my favorite internet videos, Valerie, is the Gene Wilder You Get Nothing remix that someone made. That was like, good day, sir. You get nothing.
Oh, and I love how manic he is. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love how everybody always knows it, but in that scene in particular, there's a terrible cut where his hair is like floppy and then it cuts and it's flattened and then it cuts back and it's like this big poof. And it's like one of those things that you're like, oh, someone should have just brushed that. But it's like charming at the same time because Gene Wilder. All right. Kylo 10 at Save Ben Solo. What up? Said Bond. Daniel Craig. I said what I said.
I think we have a little bit of a problem here. That one,
I disagree.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree with that one.
Say yours at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Sean Connery.
I was gonna say Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan, he was my first Bond because of GoldenEye, so he's right there. But I have to give it to the OG because he did more movies than Pierce Brosnan, and overall his movies I think were better. And I know Roger Moore did the most movies, and Daniel Craig's really good too. So Ashley, I'm not coming at you, but the Save Ben Solo thing, you hear the projections for Megalopolis, Megaflopolis,
5 mil to its
$5
what?
million
To its what?
$180 million
$40?
budget, or whatever it was.
Oh,
I don't know what it was.
180? Oh my god, I thought it was like 80.
Oh,
I feel so bad for Adam Driver. He's so insanely talented, and he keeps picking these flops.
120 million budget.
Oh my god! And it doesn't
5
help
million.
that like the director guy was a creep.
Adam Driver either needs a new manager or he's making these choices because he doesn't want people to know him anymore. And
He just needs to pay some bills. He's got 2 kids.
If he's trying for max success, he's a flop away from asking Lucasfilm about reincarnating or cloning Ben Solo.
It's true. It's very true.
I wonder if fans who want him back, like Ashley, do you want his career to crater so that he comes back to Star Wars? Like,
I would love to see him play Ben Solo again, but it would have to be like there would have to be a reason behind it. It can't just be like a random like here he is. There's got to be a point.
And you can't do the thing where it's a clone and it's not really him, but it looks like him. That stuff sucks.
That's weird. Chewie's Film School at Film FI3ND, which I'm assuming is Film Fiend. What up? They said Tom Holland, and I'm assuming it's Spider-Man. Toby was great as Peter, and Garfield was great as Spider-Man, but in my opinion, Holland has been the only actor to masterfully play each alter ego to perfection. And this is followed by Daniel Sotier at Dan RS87. Thank you so much. He said Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man. So, who do you agree with?
I am not the biggest Tobey Maguire fan. I agree with Chewie's Film School. No offense, Daniel. I also like Andrew Garfield, but I didn't like those movies. So I'm gonna go with Tom Holland.
I'm picking Toby. Toby's my Spider-Man.
All right.
I loved Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. I loved the first one. The second one is one of the best superhero movies ever made. Ever made. Poor Andrew Garfield loves Spider-Man so much. And I love the funny clip that goes around every once in a while that he did like a late night show and he played one of the Times Square Spider-Man. And like the people were taking pictures of him and gave him money and he takes the mask off and he's like, yeah, $5. I wished for his movies to be better, but they were terrible. And I love Emma Stone too, and they were just so bad. Mm-hmm. They just had to do the whole Gwen Stacy death thing, which I understand she's the first person to die at the hand of a superhero in a comic book. It was a big moment, but just not my thing. I just love Tobey Maguire. The third one was terrible. I won't even excuse it. It was trash.
Oh, gross. By the way, I don't know why Emma Stone made me think of Lindsay Lohan, but have you seen Lindsay Lohan lately?
She looks amazing.
She is back.
She looks so great.
I'm happy for her. Yeah.
She looks healthy, great. She's a mom. She just had a kid. She's glowing. She's having the best time of her life.
They should do a real Mean Girls too, like with them as the moms or something. I think that'd be good.
That might be cool. I really want a Parent Trap, but there's no way that they could do that with her.
Yeah. Freakier Friday. We'll check that box for you.
I know. Parent Trap though is like one of my favorite movies ever.
But you still not the original though?
No, the one with Lindsay Lohan.
All right, I know.
That movie, Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan, not only made me a Lindsay Lohan like super fan, but also like made me love movies. Like Star Wars made me love movies when I was super little, and then when that movie came out, it was like it sealed the deal. I was like, I love movies.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I'll say Natasha Richardson as the mom. She's like
Natasha
gorgeous.
Richardson is like the mom you wish you had, you know?
Yeah.
Like, of
Liam
course I
Neeson's
love my
wife.
mom. Yeah, I know. Of course I love my mom, but I'm saying, like, she came into that movie and you were just like, I was this close calling Daisy Hallie.
Oh, interesting.
Like, I wanted to name my kid Hallie or Daisy. Like, that was the 2 picks, and I lost out on Hallie. So, I was, like, this close.
Oh, Daisy wasn't your pick?
No, she was.
Oh, gotcha.
You know, you go through a couple names.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, guys.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you for your answers. We really appreciate it.
Keep them coming. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening, watching, however you're taking in Nerdy and Nice. We appreciate it so much. Like we said, follow us on social media at Nerdy and Nice Pod, and please subscribe and check out the Patreon. Patreon.com/TRB podcasts. We have exclusive mini episodes for Nerdy and Nice right there on the channel. We have a Discord server. We're going to be adding new cool channels that are pertaining to this show. A lot of great things coming up. And tiers start at just $5 per month. So we appreciate all your support. Big shout out to the movie star generals and the Silver Screen Spice Runners. The generals: Carmelo, John Risi, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Danny, Mike Rumore, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, Colin Cormier, and Stephen Garrow. And the Spice Runners: David Probus, Neil Shaw, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and the THEFORTWORTHIAN. Thank you all so much. And to everybody, however you support Nerdy and Nice, however you support TRB, we thank you. For me, Johnny Hoey, check me out on Blue Sky. I'm doing that. X and TRB, of course, on Thursdays with Lacey, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. Lacey, how about you?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran or on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran, and of course on TRB on Thursdays. Thank you to everybody that supports us, and please leave reviews on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It lets us know how we're doing. It lets people find us because a lot of people come across us on feeds and whatnot. And just share it on social media. Tell a friend. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you all so much. We'll be back with you with another episode next week. Star Wars fans, we'll obviously see you later this week on TRB. The rest of you nerds, next Monday here on Nerdy and Nice. So have a wonderful week. Dig your sweatshirts out, and we'll see you around, kids.